Okay, let's start with injury. Chris Hilton is the only guy that is not going to play. Everybody else has moved from the questionable, probable, whatever else we had there. They're all in. So let's. Who? Any other concerns about players in terms of availability? I think that was it, right? Deuce, I'm going to meet with Deuce tomorrow. We'll have probably a follow-up on him next week. Yep. Okay. Just finished up Thursday, so you guys know the routine here. Let's fire away.
Brian, there was,
Go ahead. Okay.
Brian, there was, a few weeks ago, y'all were, maybe looking at Lance Hurd at right tackle and kind of messing with that. And it seems like maybe Miles Frazier has really taken hold of that right guard spot. What do you kind of seen out of him over the last few weeks?
I think consistency of performance, and we felt like we've been playing at a high level. And, to move somebody in to that position, especially the right tackle position, I think it requires you to knock the champion out in a sense, right? And Miles was a starter for us, and I don't think that this is a slight on Lance at all. I mean, I think he's played well when he's gone in there, but we just felt like that rotation needed to be such where we were getting outstanding play or even better play than Miles, and Miles has played really well. Better than he played last year. So I think that consistency at right guard has really prompted us to be more consistent in keeping him in the game. Yep.
Hey, Coach. Curious how you kind of approach defending a team that just loves to run the ball and isn't much of a threat to pass. At least they haven't been so far.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, Peyton Thorne has thrown for over 6,000 yards in the Big Ten. So it's a bit misleading in terms of, their statistics relative to throwing the ball. They can throw the football. And if you're not on your coverage, they're capable of being very productive. They choose not to throw the football. So I think that's a big difference. I think there are some teams that are not capable of throwing the football and are not productive. They can throw the football, so they keep you balanced from that perspective. Now, let's face it, they're certainly a run-first team, but you have to defend the pass. You can't just say, they're not going to throw the football against LSU. They're going to do everything necessary to win the game. So we have to defend the pass. We have to obviously defend the quarterback and the quarterback run, which puts you in a very difficult situation defensively because it's hard to do both. And that's why this offense is a really good offense.
Hey, Coach, you guys have been super explosive, obviously, on offense the last several weeks, but you've also been able to keep the turnovers down significantly during that span. I mean, just what goes into that and being able to kind of, open up the playbook, open up the offense, and be as successful as you guys have while also, limiting the amount of giveaways you're having as an offense?
I think the offensive structure is set up to minimize. I think it starts with protection. I think we spend a lot of time in making sure that we protect the football. We don't put our quarterback in a situation where, we've got free runners and blitzers, and we don't run a lot of hot routes and things of that nature where, you can trap throws and, give the ball away. So I think from that perspective, I think it's just the nature of the offense and the offense that we run. And then second, you have a quarterback that is wired that way. He's not loose with the football. He's going to turn down some throws. I think last year we talked sometimes is that I wanted him to put the ball into some more difficult throws. So I think the quarterback's wired that way. He's not going to put it in harm's way. I think the offense is set up structurally not to be in risky situations, but to still push the ball down the field when you get the right matchups.
Coach, it feels like Malik and Brian have scored a lot of touchdowns on that sort of fade pattern from the slot. So I'm wondering, why do y'all like going to that route so often in the red zone, and how are teams sort of like adapting to it?
Yeah, so again, I think this is much more about how teams are defending us, and we've been effective running the football. And so when you're effective running the football, you're going to get a matchup in that slot that's generally favorable with a nickel or safety. And that's a good matchup for BT or Malik. And you get that when you play cover one. And you get that when you're adding an extra defender to the run. And quite frankly, we get a lot of that. If we're getting a lot of bracket coverage, a lot of two deep, doubling out, we've run the ball effectively. Over 250 yards rushing last week, plus, because we did get a lot of that bracket coverage. So it really depends on how you want to defend us. If you're going to try to bracket out and play two deep safeties, we won't have that angle route, but we will have a favorable look to run the ball.
Up here, Coach.
Yeah.
On that note, on paper, maybe the best defense you faced all year this Saturday against Auburn. What do you see from them that might give you guys some trouble?
Well, I think, there's a couple players. I think, the safety is playing at a high level. I think he's, leads the SEC, or one of the top guys in the SEC in interceptions. Big and physical up front. I think it's a big defensive line that is well coached. I think the defensive structure is really sound. And they remind me of an Auburn defense that we played last year. It was physical. They're fast. They run to the football, and it's well coached. So, I mean, when you go like from Missouri's defense to Arkansas to Mississippi State, like they're all really good defenses. Some might have a player here or there that might be better, but they're all really good defenses in some fashion. And this defense, I think, is probably as balanced, in the front seven and the back end as any defense that we've played.
Hey, Coach. You mentioned the run game of Auburn. Just what about the scheme, the versatility that they have makes it so challenging?
Well, I think they're committed. I think that's the first thing. Run games, people talk a lot about the run game. Sometimes people just are not committed to the run game. They say they are, but they're a finesse offense, and they really just want to RPO and, throw the football. And they're committed. And when you're committed to it, you're coaching it, and they add the quarterback to it. And when you add the quarterback, you generally don't have a hat for the quarterback. And so that makes it a difficult proposition. And they run two of them. When Asher comes in the game, he's a running back playing. He's a gifted player. We played against him last year, and he's very difficult. And Peyton Thorne is athletic as well. So you have an athletic quarterback, a committed, offensive coordinator, head coach to the run, and they're good up front. So, they're not spreading it out. They're not finesse. They're coming at you. And just by that itself, that puts you in a position where you're going to have a pretty good run game.
Up here, Coach. So going back to the run game, y'all have had a lot of different running backs come in and out of the starting lineup. And we didn't see much of John Emery last week against Mizzou. How do y'all plan on using him going forward?
I mean, we're going to have them all ready and available, and it's kind of been the same theme. We're going to go with the guy that is running well. And Logan Diggs has been really good, and we've kind of stuck with him. If it's somebody else, we'll go with them. They'll all be ready. They'll all be prepared, and we'll see how things play out, Saturday night. Yep.
Brian, you certainly had to answer a lot of questions about the defense this season, but you haven't had to answer many, or I can't remember one about the special teams, certainly as compared to last year. It certainly hasn't been a liability this year. Are you pleased with the contribution? Would you like to see, a couple more returns, or it seems like y'all are playing really safe in that respect? How do you feel about where special teams is now, halfway through this season?
I think it's been competent. I think our kickers are really good. I think both Ramos and Jay have been really good this year. So, when you have two strong kickers, I mean, if you look at the Missouri game, Jay Bramlett's punt was, arguably one of the bigger plays in the game. When we pinned it, on the 5-yard line, we turned that into a pick six. So, I mean, I think in both those instances, when you have two guys that are playing at a high level and you're competent, in your running teams, that's a big step for us. We need to be more explosive in some areas. We had a chance to be more explosive on the kickoff. We had a penalty on it, but I thought, Caleb back there gives us an explosive guy. And we still need, obviously to be better in the punt return game. But I think we've made progress there. We're certainly not a finished product, but I see signs, and we're led by two really good kickers.
Jaden, of course, wasn't on the injury report, but just coming off that rib shot that he took, how is he doing this week? Did he have to change anything about his prep?
Yeah, good question. It's one of those things where, as a coach, you want to be you want to be aware of, how a quarterback's feeling and how you kind of move into the week. But, we have captains meetings, and he's one of our captains on Monday. He said, Coach, I don't want you to change anything. I'm good to go. And so we didn't change anything up. He took all the reps. And I think it sent a really good message to everybody about, there's going to be some bumps and bruises, and guys are going to be sore. But you got to kind of, get through it. And so I thought that the message that he sent this week, he feels really good now. But I think he was pretty sore on Tuesday and Wednesday. But today he looked really good, back to his old self. And I think he's ready to compete at a high level.
Hey, Coach, up here. We saw a much better defensive performance in the second half of that Missouri game. How are you looking for the defense to really come and start fast and play a full 60 minutes against Auburn?
Yeah, well, we had some difficult matchups. Luther Burden III is a tough matchup, and, we got exploited there. And, he's probably one of the top, 10 receivers, maybe 5 in the country. So I think we're going to get off to a much better start. I think this is, for our guys, the second week that we've really kind of been able to run the defense that we want, and they feel a lot more comfortable in the structure and where they fit as a 1/11th of the defensive structure. So I feel really confident that they're going to play at a higher level. They're going to have to. And then, we look in all areas. We have to challenge the ball in the air. We have to continue to tackle better. And then we have to be on the defensive line and the linebacker in the front seven. We have to build a wall and take the air out of the defense, because if there's any gaps at all, they're going to exploit you in terms of their running game. And we've worked really hard on it this week. I feel good about going into the game. They're going to have some runs, but I think our guys have made really good improvement. Good. All right. Thank you.